Right. I will say, about the AAF, which I was talking about before we stopped for station identification, a couple of ads and all that, go fly everywhere through the try, that sort of thing. But there was at the very end, I think, a reasoning that, this one ownership, this Tom Dundon funding everything and calling all the shots, and he was really penny pinching, as Sports Illustrated mentions. But then again, can you blame him? He didn't want to get, as he said, 9 digits of dollars into the red. It's not smart business. The dirty little secret, and I mentioned this at the start of the show, that, hockey playoffs. People are talking, people, they don't watch the hockey, the regular season hockey. How much did you hear? Hey, this AAF, it's really great. Ratings are comparable to NHL, or for that matter, MLS games. Now, I don't understand for a second here. Wait a minute here. Hockey is a cult sport. Nobody watches it. But now, wait a minute. In the Sports Illustrated article, the AAF, which was going to be the frisky, young new club of pro football, and for that matter, the MLS soccer is growing. It's finally taken off in America. They say it does the same ratings as the NHL. But nobody watches that. That kind of, in my opinion, gets to be a little bit like the guy who doesn't want to talk NASCAR, I'm not going to deal with those bumpkins down there in NASCAR. Jim Rome used to call it net car, that sort of thing. And it's that they didn't understand it. And I do also understand the appeal. I've always thought that there was an appeal when you are watching, a team sport, and you kind of identify with it because it's the Tennessee Volunteers, and you're a Tennessean. And that's where, saying we and us and all that comes from, even though the players on the team really don't care if you live or die. Trust me, they don't know who you are. But even so, that's where it comes from, the identity factor, and all that. It's more difficult, I think, to identify with, say, a driver. I know historically there was, the identity of, I've always liked Chevys, I'm going to root for Dale Earnhardt, let's say. Or whoever, Chase Elliott, that sort of thing. Well, I always liked Plymouths back in the day. I always liked Super Bees. I'm going to root for Richard Petty. Somebody like that. It was identifiable make to person. I get that. Did you say Rusty Wallace was Pontiac's back in the day? Anyway, just throw that out there. I get that. And then there was always the attack on NASCAR of, these people actually think you're a better, if you're driving a Dodge or a Ford, I've often said the great American rivalry is not Red Sox-Yankees, it's not Tennessee-Alabama, it's not even, Celtics-Lakers. No, it's Ford versus Chevy. And on many, many different levels, both business and sport. There are a lot of people that don't follow sports, not even racing. Ford versus Chevy is something they're going to talk about. Anyway, and of course in NASCAR circles, it certainly is. Anyway, where I'm getting off the thing. Here was a deal with the AAF. This is what made it very appealing, and this may actually be the future of sport. Now, you talk about this app. What is this app that they were talking about that you would watch? Anyway, there was a real, and you get this in baseball a lot now with the analytics people, the idea of the coaches versus the numbers crunchers, the analytics people. But here it was, coaches and tech. Last July, about a year ago, a small number of early hire employees of the Alliance of American Football hopped on a video conference call to preview an artist rendering of the technology their outfit hoped to develop. This, according to Sports Illustrated, in a feature article that's out right now from Connor Orr. First, they were shown a smartphone, which in this demo displayed a Steelers game shot from a low sky cam angle, playing out on a large video tile in the center. Flanking that were 4 smaller tiles, each showing the same action, zoomed in on an individual player. This is not new. ESPN tried to broadcast I think it was a Miami-Florida State game this way, where they had like 9 camera angles. It was like director's view from the truck and all that. And I found it very fascinating, but it also could be very, very confusing. But, hold on, you introduce it back then. That was about, I want to say it was 2006 they introduced that. So 13 years later, now you could do this on an app, and touching a player's tile on your app, it wasn't just, I'm going to watch 9 different angles and not be able to say, cut two, like a real director would, Touching a player's tile brought a display at the bottom of the screen where you could view his energy bar, showing his level of fatigue or engage in a variety of gambling-type activities. By the way, showing his level of fatigue, I'm not sure how they would gauge that, but that can be a huge thing going forward. Because I know that I have seen a lot of players and a lot of teams lose because of player fatigue. I've always been critical, let's say, ETSU basketball. 2003 lost to Wake Forest in the final seconds. Got the chance, down by 2 to Wake Forest, got the ball 11 seconds left. Ed DeChillis does the bonehead move of his coaching career. Tim Smith makes something happen. He's played 40 minutes. Tim Smith had been a ball hog. Tim Smith had scored the last 7 points. Tim Smith wasn't thinking about any of his teammates, and he didn't. Took the ball coast to coast. Wake Forest knew he was going to do it. They forced him in the corner. He put up an errant shot for 3. They had no prayer of making it. It was the most boneheaded, lack of fundamental. Just me. This is why I hated Tim Smith. And frankly, but what if he wasn't fatigued? Newspaper story after the game said he was vomiting in the locker room. Maybe then he shouldn't have been out on the court because he wasn't thinking right because he was fatigued. All right. So that's big. All right. Probabilities for the upcoming play propped up in this gambling app. Well, it could be gambling or it could just be just watch the thing, but you could engage in a variety of gambling-type activities in this. Probabilities for the upcoming play propped up, and the user could wager points, an effort at least initially, to distance the project from actual gambling on, say, whether the Steelers would run or pass, or in which direction. It was an aspirational look at a still-developing product, but the intent was clear. Pair mountains of historical football data with machine learning to create predictive analysis, the likes of which the sporting world had never seen. How likely is Mike Tomlin to pass on 2nd and 10 out of 11 personnel against the nickel defense? Then feed that data to viewers instantly and ask, how much do you want to bet on it? One employee who saw the presentation remembers thinking, if fans can gamble on this, you're pretty much printing money. This is the golden ticket. Now, mention all that. So that's the app that Tom Dundon is really into. I mentioned this before on this show. What if that means that that app goes into hockey? And games like Madden and such, they really brought the football playbook and the understanding of football to the modern day fan. Maybe one of the reasons why people don't get hockey is they just skate around. What's going on? Now you could say, who's going to be on the line change? What's the chances that so-and-so will keep the puck in the zone? How do they do against this defense? That could really make hockey take off. And I think that it would introduce the strategies, which even I don't necessarily get 100%, to a mainstream audience, where it's really only, Canada, Minnesota, a few hockey-mad cities, Detroit, Pittsburgh, that sort of thing right now. And if you could do that, and I really think that you're looking at a sport, it's extraordinarily diverse, and also it's non-political. You think football is militaristic. That's right-wing. NASCAR is country boy. That's right-wing. Basketball, oh my God. That is so, I mean, and I've said this all the time. Look, Greg Popovich, he's signing yet another contract extension. Oh, great. More sound bites of him bashing Donald Trump. More LeBron James saying the president is appointed. Wow, I can't wait. I've said this before. You cannot be comfortable as a political conservative and watch the NBA. It's just the way it is. Maybe getting that way with, the people on the other side of political coin in football. Certainly it's always been that way with NASCAR. But hockey is not political. Baseball is getting that way. I think that's another reason why its attendance is so down. It's becoming the politically correct sport. Not everyone likes political correctness. The thing about political correctness is once they win their battle, they don't say, oh, let's buy a bunch of baseball tickets. They say, let's move on to the next thing we can pick apart. That's something telling right now. Anyway, that was the thing with the AAF. But again, what killed it? Did Dundon want the app? Did he start penny pinching? When the league went belly up, the players in Memphis found that their credit cards that had been charged for incidentals, all of a sudden they were being charged $2,500. Hey, you were living at our hotel. We don't know if we're going to get paid. You're going to pay for this. Now, that may or may not happen and all this, but that was initially what was going on. That was the fear of the AAF. It came out that even things like hot sauce was being budgeted, and everything had to go through corporate. There's more to tell you about, and I'll get to that when we return on Tri-City Sports Now.